Time for Politics in Focus now. And joining us from Canberra is the Managing Director of the Australian Christian Lobby, Lyle Shelton. Thanks for being with us, Lyle.
Always good to be with you, Kent.
Now, Lyle, in our news bulletin earlier, we heard that a number of federal politicians from the two major parties are calling for Australia to be a temporary safe haven for people escaping conflicts in Syria and Iraq. Do you think this proposal's likely to get up?
I certainly hope so, Kent. I think this is a great initiative by Philip Ruddock from the Liberal Party and Chris Hayes from the Labor Party. Both of these parliamentarians went to the Middle East late last year and visited firsthand some of the refugee camps, talked to some of the leaders of the Christian churches that are being persecuted by the militant Islamist movement, Islamic State, and they've seen the crisis firsthand on the ground, where there's 2 million people in Lebanon that have crossed the border. That country's at breaking point, and here we are in Australia, perhaps not really pulling our weight in terms of helping with this humanitarian crisis. And there is a precedent in the past where we helped people from the Kosovo crisis in the late 90s, where we provided 5,000 temporary protection places for them, and most of them went back when it was safe. And Philip Ruddock and Chris Hayes are suggesting it's time for us to do something like this again, and I agree.
Is there any indication that, say, Tony Abbott or the current Immigration and Border Protection Minister is on board with this? No,
there isn't, sadly, and we're very keen at ACL to do what we can to support this. We've been calling for a doubling of the humanitarian intake for some time, and those calls have fallen on deaf ears. We'll continue lobbying up in the Parliament, and we'll continue supporting Mr Ruddock and Mr Hayes to try and get some change, because a nation as wealthy as Australia really should be doing much more in the face of this global humanitarian crisis.
OK. On to another topic, Lyle. I understand that there are moves there in the ACT to set up exclusion zones in public spaces that prevent any kind of protest or even prayer. Have I got that right?
Yeah, this is a really perplexing one, Kent. Now it's a sensitive issue. There were some Catholic people who regularly meet to pray on public land outside an abortion clinic here in Canberra. And they were joined recently by the Catholic Archbishop of Canberra, Christopher Prowse, in the lead up to Easter as part of a prayer vigil in support of human life. Now, that wasn't something the Greens here in the ACT appreciated, and they want to try and ban this sort of peaceful prayer vigils outside these sort of clinics. Now, it's a bit ironic because, you know, the Greens, they're not against actual illegal civil disobedience in support of their causes, and yet a prayer meeting is a threat to them about something which goes against their ideology. So double standards here by the Greens.
Do you think they're maybe particularly worried about, vulnerable people that may be using that service that maybe just don't need that kind of pressure at that particular time?
Look, I think that's a valid concern, but it is a very vexed issue. It's an issue of public policy, and I think people should have the right to very peaceful and respectful protest. And of course, this is a prayer vigil, and I think surely in a free society where we believe in freedom of association, that should be allowed. I mean, if the Greens can go into the CSIRO with whippersnippers and chop up test crops that are genetically modified, surely we can have a prayer vigil for something that many people feel very passionately about.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how that one works out. Thanks so much for your insights, Lyle.
Pleasure, Ken. Thanks for having us.